Okay, we'll go ahead and call the work session to order. Thank you all for coming. There's no cause for public hearing. There's no items of discussion from old business that I'm aware of. Do either of you have anything?
I guess the one thing is that I wanted to let you know that I'm going to have Pam work on the car wash situation with BEI. Just because I had a conversation with Dr. Clark on Friday, and basically we're going to have a conversation with Pam to work with Dr. Clark on basically setting up whatever the day rate is going to be for them to use the building out there to wash vehicles.
Okay.
The assumption is that they'll use the space 1 to 2 days a month, at least right now.
Okay. Good. Any new items? Project related. While Commissioner Eggleston is thumbing through that, is there any public comment? Mr. Scully.
I have one question I'd like to ask the commission. On this ABM contract that you're going to have, I have a question for the Board of Commissioners. If that has a tub that's overflowing with water, would you continue to put towels down to collect the water, or would you shut the water valve off and fix it?
Technically, that's not related to ABM.
Yes, it is.
That's a metaphor.
No. My question reverts back to your leak on your roof. This building is historically preserved, and if you stop a leak, it would take tension off of water coming down to other floors and other gathering. So what I'm saying is, if you don't fix the roof, you're just kicking the can down the road further. That's my comment.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
I have one other question.
Okay.
In your task force report, Commissioner Eggleston, you stated there's $700,000 that we're going to get from the landfill once it's
Potentially, yes.
Eventually all the technicalities. You already have committed several $1,000s to cap those wells out there. You have considered the recycling warehouse in Starbrick to come out of that money, and a few other projects. So in your report, you could interpret it as you read it, which I read it fully, that we have $700,000 to work with, which technically we don't. I just wanted to clarify that. Some people say you've got $700,000 to enforce this task force.
Well, what it says is that we would potentially use that as a funding source once we get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my last but final question for 2018. How are we coming on the recycling of the project you have suggested with the Starbrick warehouse? Is there any movement on that?
Basically, that hinges on getting the money from the landfill. So the focus is to get the landfill completely closed. Basically, we've had meetings with our consultant who were putting the plan together in order to how it would function at the warehouse. And so we basically meet with the consultant, we go over some things, they do evaluations and then make proposals, and then we go through it until we're going to get to a point where we have something that's feasible. And then they identify funding streams and stuff like that, and then all of that's going to end up in a final plan to have it function. But it hinges almost entirely, at least right now, on getting the funding from the landfill. And right now the holdup is that basically everything that we've seen says that it's ready to be closed, but we want to cross our T's and dot our I's. So right now, over the next few months, we'll be doing methane emissions tests and a couple other tests which are required by state law to get the closure certification. Those tests were done for years after the site was shut down, but DEP stopped the tests because our assumption is, or our understanding is, there were no readings, but we don't have any of the paperwork that went along with it. Nobody has the tests, so we have to do tests like in the short term in order to kind of just to cover our bases, to say that we did tests on the site and that everything checks out. So still to this day, with the evaluation of an independent consultant and our work with the ANF and the DEP, we haven't seen anything that said that there's an issue with the site at all. So we're anticipating that we should get the closure certification in the summer of 2019. So, and then once that happens, then we would initiate the recycling project to be rolled out.
Okay, thank you.
My anticipation would be at that time that we would have a budget, we would reopen the budget and then allocate those resources as part of a budget adjustment. We had talked about putting it in the budget, but I felt like it wasn't the right thing to do if we didn't for certain have the money from the landfill closures.
Seems that we brought up the recycling. On the news the other night, they were talking, especially out in Erie, that the rules on recycling are changing. Mm-hmm. That certain glass now is not going to be taken if it had food in it. Mm-hmm. Cardboard, if it had any grease on it at all, can't be taken. Anything that's received, there's going to have to be a cost then to dispose of that. Is that going to interfere with your plans for recycling as far as what the cost would be to get rid of anything that could not be recycled?
The reason those have changed has to do with a lot with the way China accepts recyclable materials. It used to be China was kind of a catch-all for all of the world's recycling. They had centers related to it, and they basically tightened up all of their regulations, and that's rippled out into everything else. So certainly recycling isn't I don't want to use the term profitable because it was never like a hugely profitable undertaking, but it's not as I can't even say lucrative, but like the cash that you used to be able to get for recycled materials isn't what it once was. That is being factored into the plan as far as like the types of materials that we get. And the goal again is to get it to the point where it's a revenue neutral project where the county doesn't have to subsidize it on any kind of significant level in order to maintain it. We feel like we can do that. Other counties have done it. Indiana County has a very large and very successful recycling program, and the county does not contribute any money to it at all. So I think that we can do that here. It all depends on how we set it up. There are a handful of commodities that do produce funds, and those basically subsidize all of the other things that you do. So we're trying, we would be farther along if I think that the landfill thing's going to hold things up because we really want to make sure that we get that done right. So.
Any active projects or things that you want to update us on, or projects that you anticipate starting in the coming weeks?
Nothing right now, I don't think.
Okay. Let me turn our attention to the schedule real quick. Next week, we're not having a work session on Monday or Tuesday because of the county holidays. Wednesday, we have the commissioners meeting to vote on the budget. Do we have anything else? Pam, why don't you just circulate the agenda Friday as we have it so that we can by email add anything that we want to, but since...
And it'll be on Thursday morning as I will not be here Thursday afternoon or Friday.
Right. Sorry. Either way, I'm just saying we'll circulate that by email beforehand since we're not going to have a work session on Monday. That's it for next week. The 31st, we currently have a work session on the schedule, correct?
Yes.
Do we want to have that work session on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, we should cancel that. I would be in favor of canceling, let's put it that way.
I'm inclined to agree. I'm not gonna, there's nothing on the agenda, right?
No.
We've already set the dates for next year and everything.
Mhm.
I don't really see a reason to have it. Okay, and then the next Monday would be the 7th. I may not be here that week, or that day, as the farm show is that day, but I'm gonna try to go instead on the 9th. Wait, would there be a commissioners meeting on the 9th? Would be,
Isn't this?
that'd be the second Wednesday.
Yes. That would be our first one of the year.
All right, one of those meetings, I have to be there for that.
Yeah.
Bother.
There's a farm show?
The Pennsylvania Farm Show?
Uh-huh. I've never been to it.
Oh, okay. Well, the government day is the 9th, so I will, I can't believe you've never been to the farm show. should definitely
It's
go.
never, everybody always tells me that I should go, like it's just never worked out.
All right, I'll try to make my trip on Monday and skip that work session and be there on the 9th. On the 14th, I would ask that if you have projects you want to accomplish in the next quarter, to bring them to that meeting so we can set our quarterly objectives. We haven't necessarily been updating for the last couple months, but we've kind of been an autopilot for the things that we set previously in the year. So at this point, I'm pretty sure I've gotten all of my projects done, with the exception of the process design documentation system, which Pam and I have been working on. We haven't, in fact, we're working on it this afternoon. But I think on the 26th, I might have a package to request, and that's about it. Everything else we've pretty much gotten done. So anyway, come with your projects that you want to do in 2019 to the meeting on the 14th. And then a couple weeks after that, I'm going to collect as many of those projects as I can from the commissioners, other departments, and present that as kind of part of the state of the county in early February. Any comments? Does that sound good?
I think so.
Okay. We don't have the packet to review for the upcoming commissioners meeting, department updates.
I'll be on vacation next week.
Okay. Commissioner schedule, I will be probably taking a couple days at some point. Friday, I'll take Friday off. And then we'll probably take the afternoon of the 27th off. Other than that, normal holiday schedule. Anything interesting?
I don't really have anything.
Okay. I don't have anything for general discussion, and I don't have anything for executive session. Commissioner Morrison, do you have anything to add before we hang out?
No.
All right. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Very good.